Dear students, today we are going to discuss about the steps of planning. We can say the process of planning, in which there are 8 steps, which I named earlier also in my last lecture. It is one, perception of opportunities. Perception of opportunities not strictly as planning process. However, this awareness is not very important for planning process, because it leads to formulation of plans by providing clue whether opportunities exist for taking up particular plans. So from this point of view, it can be considered as the beginning of planning process. So perception of opportunities includes a primary look at possible opportunity and ability to see them clearly and completely. A knowledge of where the organization stands in the light of its strengths and weaknesses. It is an understanding of why the organization wants to solve uncertainties and a version of what it expects to gain. So, this provides an opportunity to set the objectives in real sense, because the organization tries to relate itself with the environment. So in doing so, it takes the advantages of opportunities and avoids threats. So this form analysis relates to the determination of opportunity at the first instance. So once the opportunities are perceived to be available, the other steps of planning are undertaking. Then another step of planning is establishing objective. So at this stage, many organization and objectives are set. Objectives specify the results expected and indicate the end points of what is to be done, so where the primary emphasis is to be placed, and what is to be accomplished by the various types of plan. The organizational objectives should be specified in all key results area. Key results area is what? It is those which are important for organization in achieving its objectives. So these are identified on the basis of organizational objective. For example, for an organization, key A results area may be profitability, sales, research and development, manufacturing and so on. Once organizational objectives are identified, objectives of lower units and subunits can be identified in that context. So organizational objectives are directions of nature of all major plans, which by reflecting these objectives define the objectives of major departments. Next step is planning premises. After determination of organization goal, the next step is to establishing planning premises, that is the conditions under which planning activities will be undertaking. Planning premises are planning assumptions, the expected environmental and internal condition. Thus we can say the planning premises are external and internal. External premise include total factor intake environment like political, social, technological, competitors, plans and actions, government policies and etc. Internal factors include organizational policies, resources of various types, and the ability of organization to withstand the environmental pressure. So the plans are formulated in the light of both external and internal factors. The more individual charged with planning understand the utilize consistent planning premises, and more coordinated planning will be. So forecasting plays a various major role in planning premises. Next step is identification of alternatives. So based on the whatever the organization objectives and planning premise, various alternatives can be identified. The concept of various alternatives suggests that a particular objectives can be achieved through various action. For example, if an organization has set its objectives to grow further, It can be achieved in several ways, like expanding in the same field of business or product line, diversifying in the other areas, joining hands with the other organizations, or taking over in other organizations, and so on. So within each category, there may be several alternatives. For example, diversification itself may point out the possibility of entering into one of the several fields. So, the most common problem with alternatives is not the finding of alternatives, but to reduce the number of alternatives so that most promising ones can be taken for detailed analysis. Since all alternatives cannot be considered for further analysis, so it is necessary for the planner to reduce in preliminary examination the number of alternatives which do not meet the minimum preliminary criteria. So, preliminary criteria can be defined in several ways, such as minimum investment required, matching the present business of the organization, controlled by the government, etc. For example, one company has defined preliminary criteria in terms of size of investment in new project and may not consider any project involving investment of less than 40 crores. So this is how the alternatives can be decided. And next step is evaluation of alternatives. Various alternatives which are considered feasible in terms of preliminary criteria may be taken for detailed evaluation. So at this stage, an attempt is made to evaluate how each alternative contributes to the organizational objectives in the light of its resources and constraints. So this presents a problem because each alternative may be certain of positive points on one aspect but negative on others. For example, one alternative may be most profitable but requires heavy investment with long gestation period. Another may be less profitable but also involves less risk. So moreover, there is no certainty about the outcome of any alternative because it is related with future and future is not certain. Next step is choice of alternative. After the evaluation of various alternatives, the most fit one is selected. Sometimes evaluation shows that more than one alternative is equally good. In such a case, planner may choose more than one alternative. There is another reason for choosing more than one alternative. Alternative course of action is to be undertaken in future, which is not constant. A course of action chosen keeping in view the various planning premises may not be the best one if there is change in planning premises. So therefore, planner must be ready with alternative, normally known as contingency plan, which can be implemented in changed situation. Formulation of supporting plan is the next step. After formulating the basic plan, various plans are derived so as to support the main plan. In an organization, there can be various alternative plans like planning for buying equipments, buying raw material, recruiting and training personnel, developing new product, etc. So these derivative plans are formulated out of the main plan and therefore they support it. So establishing sequence of the activity is the next step. After formulating basic and derivative plan, the sequence of activity is determined so that plans are put into action. So based on the plans, the various levels, it can be decided who will what and what at what time. Budgets for various periods can be prepared to give plans more concrete meaning for implementation. So this is all about the steps of planning function. Thank you very much.